Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Professor Sudip Patra from Jindal School of Government and Public Policy and CASP, that is Center for Complexity Economics, Applied Spirituality, and Public Policy. So from CASP, we are floating some exciting cutting-edge research-based electives and courses. And this short video is about one of such courses. So the course that I would be like to talking about a bit is very important and is at the cutting edge of the research. But not only that, it has a lot of policy implications. It has real life applications, and I hope that after going through the short video, you might be a bit encouraged to think about this particular elective or courses like this that we are going to roll out from CASP. So this particular course is on complexity economics and the application of complexity economics in public policy research. Now, you see that the word complexity economics at times really registers something complicated in human mind, but there's nothing of that sort. It is really a paradigmatic shift, one can say, from the standard economic approach that is often called as neoclassical economics, as you have all been exposed to in your undergrad or in your master's courses. Neoclassical economics is very much, as you understand, is based on something known as Newtonian worldview. So it goes back to the period of Enlightenment, or even after that. It starts with, or as the history goes, with Adam Smith at the University of Glasgow, my alma mater too. But that history is perhaps not very correct, because Adam Smith, more than neoclassical economist, he was much more a complexity economics. And what is the difference? The difference is that neoclassical economics is based on very much a standard constrained utility optimization framework. Or in other words, you need to be perfectly rational human beings. You need to, foresee your future perfectly, foresee events in the economy perfectly. And based on your perfect predictability, you are able to price the assets, for example, in the markets, or do various kind of contracts in economy, and then make decisions accordingly. And you know that neoclassical economics is a very, very well developed and very diverse field of study, one should say, for the last 50 years or more than that, the modern form of neoclassical economics. One actually is tempted to think that the beginnings of neoclassical economics was in the works of Adam Smith, when he was writing theory of moral sentiments, but much more than that, Wealth of Nations, his magnum opus. But that is really not correct, because you see, Adam Smith was much more a philosopher. He was a moral philosopher, and he was fully aware of the fact that economy is basically based on many processes, many factors, which are in a way interdependent on each other. And one cannot be said to be more foundational rather than the other. There's a kind of dependence between various processes in the economy. And an economy has to be studied from that complexity angle itself. So there comes in the definition of complexity. So complexity basically means we are dealing with a particular system which has many parts, one can say very simply. One can say moving parts, taking some clue from complexity science, which is a bigger umbrella, one can say, natural science included in that. You can think about biology, for example, bioscience, the way biosphere works, for example. There are n number of processes happening in the universe, in the biosphere, and they are all in a way interacting with each other. Now, these interactions between different processes actually has its own life, has its own, one can say, theory. So it gives rise to emergence, it gives rise to feedback loops, it gives rise to something known as self-organization. So all of these interesting things or interesting phenomena, they are difficult to find, if not impossible, in say standard economic textbooks. For example, what is meant by emergence? Say in case of economy, we can see that there are millions of agents who are like interacting with each other on a daily basis. Institutions interact with each other, and that is how macroeconomy is conceived. But then we find that macroeconomy, the phenomena called as macroeconomy, which is always in being, in the state of being or state of becoming, that can never be derived in toto from simple microeconomic foundations like rational utility optimization. There has to be some kind of emergence out of that. So ultimately, the aggregate behavior in the macroeconomy at times is very, very different from, say, very individual, rationalistic behavior. This point has been appreciated by general economics or general equilibrium economics theory earlier too, but they haven't really discussed this in a more scientific manner. Complexity economics, on the other hand, is fully equipped, or it is becoming more and more equipped, I should say. It is always in the state of becoming, to really explain this kind of emergent phenomena, which cannot really be pinned down to, rational utility optimization behavior. So if you do this kind of a course in complexity economics, so these things you will be, I hope you will be able to appreciate better that what are the aggregate behaviors, how these aggregate behaviors in the economy come about. Then there are something known as to be deep uncertainty in the economy. Now you see that, again, going back to your standard microeconomics or even standard macroeconomic theory that you have been studying, you have all heard about either perfect information or you have heard about information asymmetry. But uncertainty is something different altogether from information asymmetry itself. So it is not only about, say, the parties in the exchange, they know different quality of information about, say, products or, say, the asset qualities, etc. But it is more fundamental. There is some kind of unforeseen feature in the economy. There's some kind of unpredictability in the economy. That has to be tackled well, or at least you need to have some strategies to tackle with that kind of an deep uncertainty. If you are an economist, or if you're a social scientist, or more importantly, if you're a policymaker. So complexity economics basically gives a lot of emphasis on this concept of deep uncertainty, rather than information asymmetry economics, which is certainly well developed and well studied in standard economic models. So these features, emergence, feedback loops, uncertainty, these features will be studied in depth in the elective that we are rolling out this next semester, which we call as complex adaptive system approach in economics and policy research. Now remember that complex adaptive systems approach is a more broader term. Not necessarily it is only grounded to economics. It has been used in various other fields. For example, in natural science, in bioscience, I have already mentioned, and there are other areas, for example, statistical physics and so on. So this particular topic, complexity economics, is a very, very interdisciplinary and thriving topic, where you will find that there will be inspiration drawn from different kind of disciplines, natural science, social science, various other disciplines. Remember that neoclassical economics was also very much based on a Newtonian worldview, as I mentioned earlier, which means that it drew upon a lot from, say, the standard, classical mechanics, or that kind of a theory which ruled classical physics for a long time, which was deterministic, which was, linear in some sense. Though certainly in physics also, in classical mechanics itself, there are very, very difficult nonlinear systems of equations, but determinism was the main essence of that kind of a regime. But here we are talking about completely different kind of a paradigm where not determinism, but uncertainty is at the heart of economy. Therefore, that means that we need to move ahead of neoclassical economics or standard various econometric analysis, etc., which is really not tackling these problems well. So the elective that I will be offering this time from CASP will deal with all of these issues. So it will start with a brief review of economic history for the last, say, 100 years or so. Couple of lectures based on, one can say, who were the real forefathers, one can say, or founders of this complexity thinking. We can think about Adam Smith, we can think about Karl Marx in a completely different manner. We can think about John Maynard Keynes, his great debates on the nature of probability and how that can be applied in economic science. And then we move into very, very detailed and thorough analysis of most modern research tools which have been used in complexity economics. For example, the Santa Fe Research Institute. Fortunately, we are in collaboration with some of the pioneering scientists at Santa Fe with CASP. It has been a pioneering institute at the heart of complexity thinking. We will go through their research works. We will see that how their research works have developed over the last kind of decade or so, and how they have been applied. And then we move on to various other interesting mathematical and theoretical understanding of complexity science, drawing upon different disciplines. And then the last section of our course would be quite different. It is not very much bookish because we would really like to make it as interactive as possible. So we would be drawing from our partner institutions, say either Santa Fe or various other pioneering institutions across globe. We'll be inviting speakers. We'll be inviting pioneering speakers who have done breakthrough research in complexity economics to interact with you. We'll be delving more into policy applications for the last half of the course. Basically, you will find that at CASP Center also, our fellows and our faculties, directors, they are very much focused on applying complexities economics in policy making, policy thinking in India. So there are like quite a few projects that we are undertaking which can help, say, Niti Aayog to kind of think about sustainable development goals, poverty reduction, etc., in a much better way by looking through the lens of complexity economics. So not a deterministic philosophy, not a rational utility maximization philosophy, but a complexity economics philosophy, which is based on emergence, which is based on uncertainty, self-organization of the economy, and also what is known as to be agent-based modeling. So all of these things, you will, if you really want to know all of these things and ponder upon this, I'm sure that you are very bright minds and you are doing us proud at OP Jindal Global University and also beyond. So we will really hope that you will engage with us in this particular journey and take our center's work forward. So that would be our main aim for the next semester. And apart from this, also from CASP Center, we will be coming up with interesting conferences which are based on complexity economics and other allied paradigms. One particular paradigm I will just mention, though that is not fully into complexity economics, that is quantum-like paradigm, where I'm also doing my research. Quantum-like paradigm basically draws from seminal works in quantum physics and quantum field theory, so on, to see that whether those mathematical frameworks can be used successfully in decision making and cognitive modeling perspective. So the finding has been that we who are supposed to be rational utility maximization agents, according to neoclassical theory, we are really not following the so-called classical logic or classical Boolean thinking. Rather, we are more quantum-like or non-Boolean. This necessarily doesn't mean that we are quantum physical, but it simply means that the mathematical models and various conceptual kind of entities might be quite useful in understanding human decision making. So you can understand that a lot of things are happening. Complexity economics, quantum-like modeling, and throughout the world, many bright researchers are dedicated in this particular area. We are collaborating with many of them. So it's our urge to you to join hands with us and try to explore this beautiful, wonderful area. Because you see that overall at JSGP and also at CASP and certainly OP Jindal, overall, our attempt has always been to, in a way, contribute considerably to the society, and the way we can contribute to society is basically through the area of path making ideas, because that is our business. So our business is about thinking and about coming up with good research, but which can be connected very well to real life policy making. For example, say in some of the conferences that we have already kind of organized based on complexity thinking, quantum-like thinking, etc., we have seen that authors or say our invited guests, they were really applying these mathematical models in very day-to-day life, say choice problems or policy problems. So whether it is about some SDGs or, for example, transportation choice problem, game theory, for example, all of these new concepts have been used. So it is really an exploration is happening of human mind as well as real policy making. So it will be my urge from CSP Center, JSGP, to join hands in this journey. Please give us feedback on what you see, what you feel about this kind of a course. I hope that the course outline might also be available to you. We have gone through some revision of the course outline, and now it is quite elaborate. So have a very good new year ahead, and let's see that this new year will be as pandemic free as possible and also very good for research. Thank you very much.